During this year, VFL clubs outlaid huge transfer fees, but none more so than Australia's most famous club, Collingwood, who went on a $1 million Australia-wide spending spree. One of their more controversial signings was ex-Swan Hill footballer Geoff who this year transferred from Richmond.
VFL Park, Lee, Rains, streaming goalwards. Geoff could just about boot that from there. A long kick on its way. It's a beautiful shot too. Look at that for a goal. Beautiful kick from Rains. No North Melbourne player.
Did you play senior football in Swan Hill?
Yes, I was 16 when we went to Swan Hill, and what happened there was it didn't seem to be a competition. I think it was underage competition. I was too old. It was under 17s, and I was too old for that, and I didn't have an under 19, so I had to make the decision whether I had to play senior football. I had no choice, but I played 2 years there, and yeah, it was a good initiation.
At the time you went to Swan Hill, you were residentially tied to the Footscray Football Club, and how were you cleared to Richmond?
That's right. Under the rules, you have to live out of an area or a zone for 3 years, and we'd lived out 2 years, so therefore I was still tied to Footscray because I was 18. I was coming down to Melbourne to continue studies, so I had a year to go, and therefore had to choose between Richmond or Footscray, and it was a big decision to make, but Richmond showed a lot more interest at the time, and they were a very successful club in the early 70s, and so therefore I made the decision accordingly, because I had some bargaining power, I suppose, because I only had 1 year to really go.
How big a decision was it for you to go to Richmond?
Well, as I said, I was coming down here to do studies, and I really wanted to play league football, but I didn't know whether I was good enough at the time. As I said, they showed a lot of interest. They were prepared to put me through school and that type of thing, and so therefore, I was only too willing to give it a crack.
Who were the better players that you played with in your time at the Tigerland?
Well, I started in 76, 75 actually with the thirds and the second. 76 was my first senior year. I think, Royce Hart was on his way out then, but I even remember as a kid he was a great player, and he was on his way out. It was a bit unfortunate I didn't see him at his best. Sheeds, Dickie Clay, of course Kevin Bartlett, those type of players, obviously towards the end of their career, not Kevin as we all know, but the other guys were at the end of their career, and I think their professionalism rubbed off on all the younger guys.
Richmond do a lot of work in the country areas, and what are your thoughts on the recruiting of VFL clubs from the country?
Well, it seems to have dropped off recently, the players that have come out of the country. I don't know for what reasons, I haven't really looked into it. Maybe injection of funds, I'm not sure. Maybe they're not developing or grooming them the right way, I don't know, but I remember the mid-70s, for instance, Richmond did very well out of their country zone. They had blokes like Jimmy Jess, Merv Kane, Dale Waitman, Mark Lee, and I think they got a fairly good crop. It seems to slow down considerably the last few years. For what reasons, I'm not quite sure.
Geoff, do you have any thoughts on what the visiting clubs around the country, such as the Swan Hill Footy Club, get out of football when you see Geoff sold by Richmond for $300,000 or so? And what about the junior clubs that have developed Geoff
Well, that's a very hard question to answer, because, as I've said, I've been to about 5 or 6 different clubs in my career, junior-wise. It's hard to pinpoint who should receive the funds and who shouldn't.
Well, what was the influencing factor in moving from Richmond to Collingwood? Was it a financial one, friction with the coach at Richmond? What was the decision that made you come out to Victoria Park?
Well, I had to weigh up my future at the end of last year. I could see that I was becoming very stale in my approach to the game, and I needed some sort of rejuvenation. And it was a hard decision to make, because I'd been there 8 or 9 years. They've been fantastic to me, really, and I have no beef with the club. It was purely a decision that I had to work out whether I could perform at my best there this year, and I don't believe I could have.
And how have you fitted in out here at Collingwood?
I'm very happy here, very happy. Of course, I'm frustrated because I haven't had that good a season as far as injuries are concerned. That's the frustrating part. Coming to a new club, you really want to perform for them, and it's been a bit unfortunate because of the injuries I've sustained this year.
Geoff, who are the best players you've struck in your career in the VFL?
Well, there's numerous ones, I suppose. Robbie Flower's got to be one of the best that has been around during my career. I look at it this way. I think every week you come up against a hard opponent, and you know, they're all tough and they're all good.
You've had finals experience, you've played in premierships at Richmond. What's the feeling like on grand final day?
Oh, it's absolutely tremendous. It's something that if no one's been there, it's something you long for and you treasure, and it's just an unbelievable feeling, and it's very hard to describe, but it gives you a buzz, the atmosphere, and it's something that I think everyone dreams of, and doesn't happen to too many people.
Looking to the future, Geoff, you've had success at Richmond, you've come across to Collingwood. Do you have any personal goals you want to achieve before you retire?
Oh, I think one personal goal would be to win a premiership with Collingwood. Couldn't see anything better than that.
Rains. Long kick by the former Richmond star. Davis waits at the back for it, gets it and goal!
About it, Collingwood and near over to Rains. This looks dangerous, could be a goal coming up as he fires, and there's no doubt about that one. Another goal to the Magpies. Goes wide, and there's Rains again. Picks it up, beautiful, long kick, and that's the feature of his game up there towards Davis with the sit here. Ball hits the deck, Williams gets clear, a snap at goal, it's on the run of the Magpies. That's all through Rains.
Knocked away by Toomey. Chance for Rains. Shot at goal. That's not bad from Rains. Look at that!